Continuing the best item guides, we have a slot that is sometimes confusing to new players, the belt slot. This is because a lot of options here have unique functionality that can only be found in a handful of items. So today we'll cover the best unique, set, rare, and yes, even crafted options for this somewhat misunderstood equipment slot. Starting out, we'll show some love to the martial classes with the belts you want to use whenever you need to be tanky. First with the ever-popular Verdungo's Hardy Cord, a solid belt with variable damage reduction and a chunk of vitality, hit recovery, and replenish life. While an exceptionally strong belt and often best in slot, it is a bit oversold due to misunderstandings about how item vitality interacts with percent life boosts, but it is still usually a safe pick for melee builds regardless. It's often cheaper and easier to find cousin, String of Ears, is also quite useful, packing variable percent damage reduction as well, but this time pairing it with life leech and flat magic damage reduction, making it better in some situations, worse in others. But as we said, significantly easier to get your hands on either way, and we can often make the journey through hell a lot easier with it. In a similar martial vein, there are two attack speed belts in the game, first being Nosferatu's Coil, the objectively stronger of the two. It packs faster attack speed, life leech, slow target, mana per kill, and a reasonable strength boost. This belt is used by a lot of ranged characters that don't need pierce, as well as a number of melee characters that just need the extra push over the edge to hit that next breakpoint. It is easily one of my most used unique belts for these type of characters. The other attack speed belt is often not remembered as such, and that is Gold Wrap, a belt that you can find relatively early and often gets overshadowed for its magic find and gold find functionality. As one of the few normal difficulty belts on this list, it is important to upgrade it to a battle belt should you want maximum potion slots from it. That said, if you're using it solely for the magic find aspect and not attack speed, you'll usually be a bit less pressured to keep a full stack of potions and may want to go with the lower strength requirement. That said, our next belt you may have caught a hint of earlier, and that is Razortail, an interesting belt on a few fronts, but most well known for providing a chance of piercing that is valuable to several builds, because it lets your attacks hit multiple targets in a line, though it does only work for martial skills, not spells. Though this belt also packs a few other nice things, such as a boost to damage that works well if you have a lot of auras with percent damage boost, it has plus dexterity that is actually only found on unique and set belts, and if you're into pacifist runs, it actually has a solid retaliation damage as well as you level up. As far as things that are just generally good, whether you're a martial class or a caster class, it would be a mistake not to bring up resist with belts like Immortal Kings, having plus strength as well as important bumps to lightning and fire resist, combined with some solid potential set bonuses depending on what other parts you use them with, at least as long as you have the strength to actually wear them. If you're looking for more broad resist, there are a few options, but one that gets slept on a lot is Credendum. While it lacks good partial set bonuses, it is still a fairly reasonable belt, with 15% resist all combined with okay boosts to strength and dexterity. Obviously, neither of these will be best in slot on a ton of builds, but they're reliable, decent enough, and do show up in a number of niche or class-specific builds. Another tool that's available to belts that is only found on a handful of items is Cant Be Frozen. With 2.4 releasing, you'll likely see Death's Sash step up in a more regular use, especially since when paired with the gloves, you'll also get 30% increased attack speed and 15% resist all, not to mention a pinch of life leech. And it is especially nice for magic find or gold find barbarians since it provides this trait, the Cant Be Frozen, without cold damage, letting you keep more corpses to hork. This change will also likely result in Credendum slipping even more into the shadows than it already was thanks to that resist all. Another Cant Be Frozen belt that stands a little bit better on its own is Trangools, packing a decent flat bump to life and mana that can easily be amplified by percents, and it is a decent enough belt with reasonable requirements but can very easily be paired with other parts of its set to increase its usefulness even further for a few builds, especially on Poison Necromancers, since it sets up for some really nice 3-part set bonuses with the Cantor Trophy and the gloves, giving you both boosted poison damage and poison piercing. Before we move on to a caster and caster adjacent belt, I felt I would sneak in an often ignored belt here, and that is Ma'avina's Tenet. It is unique in being the only faster run walk belt in the game, and is one of the pieces of equipment that I use to outrun arrows. Even outside of that, it's still a fairly decent belt, especially for characters like Mage Zons that need extra mana leech to maintain their damage output. Anyway, in the caster adjacent, we actually have two belts, the less popular of the two being Snow Clash, commonly viewed as the Blizzard belt. It does live up to that name, though personally I often see it as a bit of a new player trap in that regard, since while extra damage is nice, faster casts will generally benefit you more thanks to skill juggling and teleporting. Though if you cannot get the FCR, this can be an okay choice. The other use of this belt is Cold Absorb and Max Cold Resist. While only situationally useful, it is definitely a choice to keep in mind if you expect a lot of cold damage in your particular runs or in whatever instance your particular character is going into. The other adjacent belt is Thunder God's Vigor, commonly called T-Gods. This is the lightning cousin of Snow Clash, but favors Amazon Javelin skills rather than sorceress spells, giving you points in 2 area control lightning javelin skills. This belt is also favored over Snow Clash because lightning is a far greater threat in PvM, so that is a bigger help as well. But also, it does pack some nice stats with vitality and strength flat boosts. Getting into the more proper caster gear, we'll start with the obvious choice, Arachnids Mesh, the only plus all skill belt in the game. It also packs the only belt with 20% faster cast rate. Combine that with maximum mana and slow target, and it is a fairly solid belt. As far as the Venom charges, they can be used with a very specific build, but it's usually not a factor in the belt's value or even concerns. With a bit less faster cast, we have Talrash's Belt. On its own, it actually does not have this mod, which is why it's usually only used on sorceresses, because to squeeze out the good bonuses on it, it needs to be paired with at least 2 other parts of the set, usually the armor and the amulet, or the orb and the amulet. The latter I obviously can't show off on a necromancer, so we're going to show it off with the armor and the amulet here. Beyond this, it does have some okay bonuses, magic find, damage to mana, dexterity, etc., as well as the bonuses on other gear, but you can see why sorceresses would love it. As far as the magic find belts, we already actually covered those, since Magic Find only spawns on unique and set belts, unfortunately, meaning Talrash's Gold Wrap, or in the right setup, certain set combos are the only source of it. That said, we've been ignoring something a number of you likely came here for, rare and crafted belts. On the crafted front, we pretty much have 2 options, Caster for faster cast rate, though only up to 10%, and Blood for life leech and bleed. The safety one provides poison resist, which is easy enough to find elsewhere, and the hit power one provides Frost Nova, which most people aren't exactly looking for. Both of these can actually be natural mods in and of themselves too, which makes it kind of redundant. That said, generally what you're looking for in addition to these mods are fairly straightforward, with resist, strength, and flat life being the most desirable traits, with hit recovery, attack rating, etc. being nice to haves, more so for specific characters than others. As far as how much of each of these you can get, it's actually usually a fairly high value on belts, though since belts cannot get the resist all function, you are limited to triple resist on rare belts due to how the prefix and suffix system works, but they at least can get fairly high and still leave you with up to 3 suffixes. All that said, for most characters there will be a better set or unique belt for your needs unless you are desperate for specific resistances. And as far as the crafted ones, you are getting these for their specific bonuses and a cutback on the rare bonuses, which comes with crafting items. Now, if you want more best items guides, you can check them out on the screen now or go to one of the other videos on the channel for something a little bit different. And as always, a special thanks to the channel members and patrons that keep the lights on and viewers like you that watch to the end. Of course, keep gaming, have fun, and peace out. This has been Alzorath. Bye.